Hey everybody, it's Robot here from Vespa Motorsport, scooterwest.com. As the title implies, we're going to change the spark plug on a GTS. And this applies to pretty much any of the GT range, you know, starting in 2005 with the GT200, all the way up to the very latest 2024 or newer GTS. They do use some different plugs, but if you have 2019 or earlier, I just recommend a replacement NGK CR7 EKB. It tends to be the longest lasting, best replacement plug for this era of scooter. Piaggio recommends replacing it every 6,000 miles. Generally with these double electrode plugs, you could probably push it a little bit further, but why risk a misfire over an inexpensive part? I'm going to show you how to replace a plug and also inspect the spark plug cap, which is easily overlooked. So first of all, you got to pull the seat up, get that bucket out of here, the pet carrier. And you're probably wondering where the spark plug is. Well, depending on the year, they're always on the right side. Well, they're always on the right side right here, but depending on the year, sometimes they have a little clamp, this little plastic thing right here, and you got to shift the spark plug cap up in order to pull it off. That's only found on 2011 and later models. Is what it does, it keeps the spark plug cap from popping off, which was a common occurrence with the earlier models of the GTS. So I'm using a long set of needle nose and very, very carefully levering the cap off, because a good cap has some friction on it. So cap just popped off, and I'll actually pop this down and check it. I'll show you how to check the cap. Pretty important to do every time you replace the spark plug. So you're gonna need a 5/8 drive spark plug socket. This is a really nice snap-on one with a magnet in it. It doesn't need to be that fancy, but I can tell you the nicer sockets usually work a little bit better. So you kind of, with a cool engine, kind of feel your way around and put the spark plug socket on there. And before you even get a ratchet on there, sometimes you can't even get a ratchet. You wanna take an open-end wrench. This happens to be an 18mm. And once you break it free, it's pretty easy. Other thing I noticed is this little bracket's a little loose. There's a 10mm nut that'll go in there and tighten, make sure that stays tight. And at this point, sometimes you can get a ratchet in there, even with a small extension or something. Another option is to put the socket back onto a ratchet. Make sure it's on remove there, and then you can kind of just, that bracket's a little in the way, so it makes for a little bit of a difficult job. Another option is to find a thumb ratchet, and you could drop that in there. Again, there's many ways to skin the cat here. It just, the quarters are pretty tight when you're doing this job, and if you don't have any of this, you could just slowly remove it with that 18mm combination wrench too, but this kind of makes for the job a little quicker here. And you don't want to be doing this with a nice hot motor. If it's at 12,000 miles, you'd be doing a valve adjustment anyways. 18,000 miles, not needed. This scooter has had a valve adjustment. 12,000 miles, doesn't have the original hose clamp. That's a whole nother video on how to do that, and typically you'd remove the spark plug in that step. So keep that in mind. A lot of people like to skip the valve adjustments, but if you end up with a scooter that's really difficult to start cold or stalls out, probably your first thing you want to do is make sure those valves are within specification. So pull the spark plug out. It does show some wear. It's that same NGK CR7 EKB, but you can see that electrode was originally around. These have pretty high power ignition systems. But you take the new spark plug, you don't necessarily need to put any anti-seize on a brand new spark plug. Go ahead and pull this out. There's no need to gap these. These are already set, so there's a brand new one. And again, kind of get it chucked up in the socket. And you kind of want to feel your way around to make sure it doesn't start cross-threading. A lot of times with the nice fresh threads, you don't even need that little helper there. Kind of just feel your way around. It definitely takes a little bit of practice. It should be really easy to thread in. If it's not easy to thread in, stop, because the last thing you want to do is damage the spark plug threads. And we do repair those, not because my techs mess up the threads, because do-it-yourselfers make some bad mistakes when they're tightening the spark plug. So once you get to a point where you can't do it by hand, then you get in there with the combination wrench and we'll tighten it to those last steps. And the way a spark plug works is it has that little washer that compresses, that kind of seals the seals the spark plug to the combustion chamber. So I probably could go a little bit more. So once it's about as tight as you can go by hand, you're going to need to get in there with your wrench. You could also use a flex head ratchet. That also works pretty good. I think that's what my techs all use. And see how I can just barely get enough. Doesn't need much. It's probably not even a half turn that I'm getting extra on there. And if you're having difficulty, then you may need to just turn the whole socket. There we go. That's all it needs. So pop the socket off. I'm going to get in there with a little 10mm, tighten this little thing in here so that's not wobbling around. So in addition to the spark plug, there's a critical part to the engine's operation. That's the spark plug cap and the spark plug wire. And they do tend to have some issues sometimes on the GTS. If there's any wear to the wire, I just recommend replacing it with the Scooter West high performance one. This is made with like US made Taylor spark plug wire. It's just built much better. Unfortunately, this connection is pretty difficult to get access to. That's on the ignition coil that's located just behind the battery, and then you have a brand new spark plug cap. In addition to the spark plug cap, there's a boot, and you got to check the operation of the spark plug cap. And the way this cap is attached to the wire, it's actually threaded on. There's a little, looks like a wood screw in the end of it. So this is the original cap that's from the scooter. It even has the little marking from when it was new. I have my old spark plug. The electrode terminal here, or the terminal, is still in good shape. And I like to hear that snap. That's a good plug cap. And I have to really struggle to pull it out. So no issues there. This boot, they can get burnt. They can start arcing and cause misfires. So if you have any misfires, sometimes just your best bet is to replace all these parts. Maybe even including the wire. But you could buy the cap separately, the NGK part, and the all-important boot as well. It's A28, 210, and that's a replacement boot. And in some cases, they're a little bit different style. And if they are different style, you just may need to cut that little flange off. It's not all that critical. But before we put this together, you may want to put a small amount of dielectric grease. You put a small amount in here, and then some inside where the electrode goes. And same with on this little boot right here. I probably put too much on this. And I know you're not going to be able to see it, but I have the spark plug wire that's still attached to the coil. The original one is still in good shape. And I'll just go ahead and thread this back on, and we'll snap the spark plug cap. So I got the spark plug cap threaded back on the wire, the original wire. And then I'm going to do that tedious task of snapping it back on. Kind of got to give it a twist. So I can keep my hands out of the way of the camera. So I have it twisted right here. Kind of feel your way around where the spark plug is. There it is. And listen for the snap. There we go. That's a perfect snap. And then I'm twisting it right into that little plastic bracket right there. That holds the spark plug cap in place. And that's pretty much how you change a spark plug and everything you need to know about the Vespa GTS or GT200 spark plug and spark plug cap. I'll see you on the next one. This is Robot here from Vespa Motorsport. Ride safe and look out for the next tune-up videos.